All right, everyone, welcome back to the Sportsmen. We got them all back together. Myself, Joey D, Mikey V, we're all here. You were clamoring for it. We heard you loud and clear, and here we are. So let's just jump. Well, you know what? I want to talk 2 seconds about this Italian grocery store that I went to today. It's called
Joseph's?
Joseph's. Mikey,
What did you get,
this
Pop?
thing, this place is
Nice
unbelievable.
place.
It's not the
Yeah.
Italian market in Philadelphia, but I mean, everything you could possibly think of is there, and it's
What'd you get?
Yeah.
fantastic. I got a slice of pepperoni pizza. I got a pound of chicken Milanese cutlets, and
Oh,
I got a
nice.
pound of the spicy fusilli, and then a pound of the stuffed shells. And I'll be back
Wow.
tomorrow. That was just today.
Yeah, that's a nice little assortment there.
For
I'm sure.
Florida, it's the best you can do.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure where Mikey is, he's got one of those on every second corner.
Oh,
You
of
Yeah,
know,
there's a
course,
it's
of
lot of them
course, of
here.
course, of course.
A lot of them,
Um,
but
all right, boys, let's get right into it. Let's talk quickly before we get into college football. Let's talk quickly about the Tyson Paul fight. People want to hear what you guys have to say about it. The biggest Jake Paul fan in the world down there underneath me is Mikey V. Why don't you talk us through what you saw there?
yeah, I mean, listen, free money if you bet Jake Paul. I mean, I can't even believe some states wouldn't allow you to bet on it, which was probably the right play because I mean, anybody who's got a brain who's watched boxing, for any extended period of time, I mean, that fight was a complete joke. It was a farce. Tyson actually threw a couple punches in the first round, and then there's a video circulating online where
I saw
Paul
that.
they tie up. You could see Paul kind of talking to him almost, but you can't really see what he says or anything like that. And Tyson kind of gives him a pat on the back, and from that point on in the fight, Tyson didn't throw any punches, and it was like he was pulling back punches. He was taking punches, not moving. He was getting in positions where he could easily would normally counter a punch, and he didn't. And I know he's older, but the whole thing stinks. It's a money grab. If it's an obvious money grab, but people keep watching and people keep buying, and until they don't, um, Paul's going to continue to do this. Now, Paul got called out by a top 5 pound for pound guy in the world. I forget the guy's name. Light heavyweight guy called him out, and
Did it
Paul
really?
Paul's response on Twitter was like, I've only been in this game for 4 years and I already have a top 5 pound for pound guy in the world calling me out. Ha 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 ha. He's never gonna fight this guy. He'll get killed. He'll get killed.
You think
I
so?
mean, it's a joke. Yeah, it's a joke. It's a
Well, now
joke.
he's trying. I heard he's challenging Conor McGregor to a
Of course
UFC
he.
fight.
I mean, there's no way. There's
He
no
said that. That's what he said. If you
I
go
know
and
there's
see.
no way this guy's going to get in an octagon and it's going to be. See, here's the thing about Paul is like all these fights, like the boxing match with Tyson, that was not a regulation ring. It was a bigger boxing ring than a normal ring. The gloves were not regulation 10-ounce gloves. They were 14-ounce gloves with more padding. Jake Paul is like a master circus guy. Like he shows you what he wants to show you, tells you what he wants to tell you. That's not the whole story. So there's no way he's going to fight Conor McGregor in a real, UFC ruled and sanctioned octagon and is going to fight him legitimately There's no way he'll get killed.
It's true.
He'll
He
get
will. He'll
killed.
die. He'll
He'll
die.
die. He'll die.
Yeah,
He'll literally get
I
killed.
agree.
So like it's just at this point, it's just an insult to everybody's intelligence. But everybody, listen, I think you just got to take it for what it's worth now at face value. It's just entertainment. It's not boxing. What you saw on Friday night was not boxing. It was an exhibition. It was like, it was like Rocky and Rocky 3 when he
Yeah.
fought Hulk Hogan in Rocky 3 before he fought Clubber Lang when he fought Thunder Lips. It was an exhibition. Like it's not real. It's solely for entertainment. And if you take it as that, then it's fine. It's just annoying that it gets billed as like a boxing match because it's not. It's not a real boxing match. So if they bill it as entertainment going forward and people want to watch it, God bless. I still can't believe I got to bet on it. And I bet on Jake Paul and won. I mean, Jake Paul that was the easiest money I may have ever made. Ever.
Yeah.
Only double your money to put your money on him? It's
Well, the
crazy.
line when I looked, it went up to almost minus 300. It was shooting up. I think a
The
lot of
morning
people
of
were
it was minus
hammering.
two,
I
minus
know. I think a
220.
lot of people were hammering Jake Paul, and then you had the Portnoy video out. So I think a lot of people were
Yeah.
hammering it, which was shooting it up. But I mean, here's the thing, right? Like, don't hate the player, hate the game. That's what I say. Like, like you're right, Mikey. Like they're gonna keep doing this as long as people keep. And they came out of it. Jake Paul made $40 million. Mike Tyson, past his prime, is not going to fight again. Well, I don't think so. But to make $20 million
He
for
said
that,
he's going to.
No, dude. Like I'm not blaming
that's a
Mike
win.
Tyson
I
at
mean,
all.
that's
Mike
a
Tyson got to
win.
do what he's got to do, man. Like,
100%. So you know what? I will say this. You know, these guys came from the YouTube game. They came from the Vine game. Like whether you hate him or love him, and I'm not particularly fond of Jake Paul, but I got respect for him in the sense that he's one of the greatest marketing geniuses in the game today. Like him and his brother have made an absolute fortune and have somehow managed to basically just, you know, deal their way on up to the top and continue to do so. Netflix was shutting down because of how many people were fucking watching it. It just goes to show that like they know how to put on a show. They know how to get people to pay for their shit. Did you hear about the ringside, like the boxes that cost like $2 million?
Yeah, and you got 2 nights, you got the flight, you got
and they're selling them out.
Yeah, it's gross, man. It's gross.
Did you hear about that ticket?
And at the end of the day, it was just a boring fight. You couldn't imagine that
that's
money.
The thing too. It's stuck.
Yeah, but that money you had to be furious with. You had to either be stinky billionaire rich, or you had to be furious with yourself.
But I mean, what Jake Paul fight thus far has been entertaining. Like the most entertaining fight is when he fought a real boxer. When he fought
he lost, the one he lost was good.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. That was he fought a real boxer that wasn't like a washed up.
And by the way, he's not even Tommy Fury's not even that great a boxer.
No, that's what I'm saying, bro. If this guy ever fought and like he wants to laugh at it and scoff at it that, you know, he's only 4 years in, whatever, and he's getting challenged. Like, bro, if you want to be that loud and obnoxious about shit, like, of course, like the real guys are going to get sick and tired of you trying to parade yourself off as a real boxer. Like the real boxers are going to want to make that money too. These guys want to make that kind of money too. So they're going to want to fight you. So you can't really laugh at them either. Like you're doing what you're doing. You got to respect that they want to come at you and make some real money too. So we'll see what he does. I'd love to actually get some kind of a sense of where he is as a boxer, but until he fights a real boxer in his weight class in the prime of their career, you're not going to know. And I mean, the Tommy Fury thing, I think now we're like 2 years removed from that almost. Have to be almost 2 years removed.
A year and a half, 2 years for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, like, where are you at, Jake Paul? Like, where are you at? Right. Like legitimately as a boxer, I'd like to gauge him. Because I don't think he's terrible. I really don't think he's a terrible boxer.
And he's in great shape.
But it's impossible to judge him off of like you can't gauge anything based off of a fight with Mike Tyson. Like you can't. The fight was nuts. It wasn't even.
My only regret was the fact that I didn't see the fight before it. Bob said it was one of the best fights. Two chicks was one of the best fights he's ever seen. So
Serrano.
Yeah, that was one.
You can't judge Alabama off of just playing high school teams.
Like Alabama played Mercer on Saturday, and Mercer's a 9-1 team going into that game. You know, they're probably the top FCS team in the country. But again, like who are you playing? Like you gotta play, you know, your peers, like your legitimate peers, and that's what I'd like to see from Jake Paul. I really like him growing to the point where I don't even hate what he's doing anymore. I just would love to see him fight somebody. Like I really would like to see him fight a real boxer again.
Yeah. I just am afraid that he will get his ass kicked by
There's no way he's going to fight.
Maybe that's what it needs, Pop.
No, he'd have a better chance against Canelo in a ring than he would against Conor McGregor doing UFC. Does this guy know any mixed martial arts? Does he know how to?
That's what, bro.
He'll get
killed. He'll get killed.
It's a completely different sport, by the way.
I mean, and he would get killed by the guy who called him out after the Tyson fight. I forget. It's like a Russian. I forget the guy's name. He's a great fighter too, and I'm so pissed I can't think of his name. But
well, he won't fight either of them, so we don't have to worry about it.
No.
Yeah. All right, let's move on here to college football. Let's talk playoff previews right now, because recently, this week, just now, Boise State moved into the bye spot. They got that 4th bye spot. Oregon as well, Miami and Texas. And then rounding out in the first round, you got BYU as of today playing Ohio State, Alabama playing Notre Dame, Georgia playing Penn State, and Ole Miss playing Indiana. Guys, do you think it's going to stay that way? Do you like where it sits right now, or do you think a lot's going to change between now and the beginning of that first round?
Yeah, a lot's good. I mean, there's a lot of football left to be played. You got 2 more weeks of the regular season. You got championship Saturday to follow that. I want to actually pull up the bracket to actually take a look at it, so I have it in front of me.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do right now too. Pull it up.
Because obviously the rankings don't reflect the bracket.
Of
you
course.
got to remember that. We talked about that. So I'm just trying. Okay, yeah. So I have the first round in front of me now. I mean, look. Well, so 14 would earn 12 seed as 5th highest ranked conference. So it's actually, so numbers 1 through 12 wouldn't necessarily even be the 12 teams in the playoff from what I'm reading. SMU. So BYU, the first round would be BYU against Ohio State is what I'm looking at.
That's right. That's what I said earlier. Yeah.
Okay. So, right. So you have the 14th. So it's not even this is what I'm saying. So it's a little hard for people to listen and visualize it, I think. But it's going to change. Listen, Ohio State's got to get past another top 5 team. They got to beat Indiana on Saturday. That's not going to be an easy game. Indiana, the only thing about Indiana that I'll say, and I have the utmost respect for this coach and the utmost respect for that team, because they're not just beating teams, they're destroying teams. They really have not played anybody. They really have not. They have not played anybody.
Yeah.
So
they played Michigan, but Michigan's trash.
This is not Michigan's year. I'm still not giving us an automatic win over Michigan either, because I know how that game goes. But Ohio State's got to get past Indiana. But I mean, look, you have these incredible, like Alabama at Notre Dame. I mean, look, Notre Dame has looked a lot better since they dropped that game to Northern Illinois. They've looked a lot better, Notre Dame has. So they're on the up and up. Alabama has been hit or miss, although I do think that they're trending in the right direction, because I think the whole key to Alabama with me is to let Milroe run the ball. If Milroe is running the ball and running the ball effectively, Alabama is one of the toughest teams in the country to beat when he's running the ball. Georgia, Penn State, I think Georgia could win that game. It depends what Carson Beck you're going to get. Sometimes he looks terrible. Second half, obviously, against Tennessee, second quarter, late second quarter, second half, he looked like a totally different guy. So, again, you don't know what you're going to get with Carson Beck. That could be a great game. 2 really good defenses. Not great defense with Georgia anymore, but a really good defense. And then Ole Miss, Indiana, that game probably won't happen, because Indiana, if they lose, they're probably out. I would imagine with their schedule, without any signature wins.
Even with 1 loss?
Yeah, I would think so, Joe. I really would. With their schedule.
I don't think so, Mikey, though.
Oh, they'll drop. Unless they play Ohio State very close. If they play Ohio State very close, maybe not. But if Indiana loses by 2 touchdowns or more to Ohio State, I think they have a real chance of missing it. I really do.
You got teams in there with 2 losses.
Yeah, but we talked early on in the season about it. It matters when in the season you take some of these losses.
It doesn't. It matters who you lost to. Like Alabama, Alabama's 2 losses are to who? Alabama lost to Vanderbilt. That's
a tough one.
It's not a great loss, but Vanderbilt has been a lot better than people have given them credit for this year.
They lost to LSU.
And then they lost to LSU. LSU has been hanging around all year. Granted, they lost, They
lost this last week. They're not even in the top 25.
They lost to Florida. But again, I don't think Bama's...
But Mikey,
Bama's got some major wins, though, dog. Remember,
I know that, but I'm saying you got Alabama, Ole Miss. I know Ole Miss just beat Georgia. I'm not taking that away. Alabama, Ole Miss, Georgia, and Tennessee with 2 losses.
Those SEC teams are always going to get the benefit of the doubt, though, I feel like. And Tick, you correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like a 2-loss SEC team is going to get the nod over a 1-loss Indiana, when Indiana, who is Indiana's marquee win right now?
Right now, it's nobody.
Marquee win for Indiana?
Nobody.
They don't have one, really. Michigan?
Is this game at Ohio State, or is it in Indiana?
It's in Columbus.
Oh,
they're going to kill them.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, the line is so insane. The line is insane.
Pop and I already got on Ohio State early.
13. Yeah, I mean, I'll be putting Indiana money line bet.
We got it at 12.
Just God forbid.
Just
God forbid. But
sure.
Yeah, just God forbid. But you got it at 12. It's at 13 today.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's trending in that direction. I don't understand that necessarily. I have a lot of respect for Indiana. But again, I think a 2-loss SEC team is going to get the benefit of the doubt. Like Georgia's schedule this year was one of the more insane schedules I've ever seen. Alabama, Texas. I mean, they Tennessee, they had one of the more ridiculous schedules. Georgia did that I've ever seen. So for them to come out with only 2 losses, there's no way they're going to get left out, even if they don't play in the SEC.
My thing is,
game.
It's still early. I think there's teams in the playoff right now who I don't think are even that great. Miami is third place right now, ranked, and I don't think they're that great. In all honesty, Boise State is ranked 4th. I'm like, listen, I think this is one of those things where week to week,
they're not ranked 4th though, Joe. They're ranked
in the bye
ranked
spot
12,
because of their
but
conference.
they get the bye because of the conference, which sucks.
But
I mean,
I know that's ridiculous. It should be the top 4 teams get buys.
I would agree with that. I'd agree with that. I don't know why the committee, why they made that decision to do, and I'm not saying that because Ohio State's not in position to be in with the bye. Right. I'm just saying it like, if you're going to do it and you're going to do 12 teams and you want the 12 best teams in the country, it's just kind of hard for me to justify giving a team that's clearly not of the class of one of the top 4 ranked teams a bye because they won an inferior conference. That just to me doesn't seem right. It just doesn't sit right with me. But
and the fact that we got to watch a blue field in a playoff.
You think Ohio State is still in a position to get the bye over Oregon for the Big Ten spot?
Well, they'd have to. Well, they know what they have to do. It's right in front of them.
But Oregon has 1 game left, and it's Washington. If they win it, they're not going to be knocked off the 1 spot, no matter what Ohio State does.
That's not true, though, Tick, because they'll have to play in the Big Ten title game.
Well, yeah, that's okay. That's true. I didn't know that it continued through that. I thought it was just the regular season.
No, so OSU, no, it's after Championship Saturday. So Championship Saturday, you could conceivably have 1 loss Ohio State if they take care of their business against no loss undefeated Oregon in the Big Ten title game. If Ohio State beats them, they win the Big Ten, even though they lost to them and they still only have 1 loss apiece. If they beat them in the Big Ten title game, they win the Big Ten, no matter what. So then
they would move into the bye.
Ohio State would get the bye. Oregon would have to play in the first round. So that's Ohio State. True. Ohio State controls their destiny in terms of getting the bye. They got to win out. If they win out, they get the bye.
Got to make sure no funny business this week against Indiana.
Well, that's correct. And you know what? And the problem is like, it's not the easiest spot for Ohio State because you got Indiana. But I guarantee you, because I know this rivalry, there are kids on this team that are thinking about next week already. I'm telling you. Okay.
You just said they're not the same team. It's not
they're not, but in this rivalry, you could throw it out. It's the same with Auburn, Alabama. You don't think Auburn will give Alabama a game for at least a half of football in the Iron Bowl. And it's just the way these big time rivalry games go. I mean, Ohio State, Michigan, you could throw the records out. It'll be a good game. I expect to get Michigan's best game of the year in 2 weeks. What do
you think the spread will be on that game? 7.5, 8?
Where is it?
If Indiana's 13, I would imagine Ohio State's got to be something close to that against Michigan, if not more.
Well, it depends on where it is. Is it at the Horseshoe or is it
at the Horseshoe? It's at the Horseshoe.
Okay, yeah, I would think it's probably.
I would guess Ohio State's a 17-point favorite in that game.
Oh man,
yeah, I would guess right around 17.
Mike, you ain't be cruising, man.
he can't. Never, the Bears have scarred him so much that he can't even be happy about a team that's legitimately good.
I mean, look, listen, Ohio State went to Austin in Oregon, played them as tough as they could, lost by a point, had a bye week to follow, came home, played a Nebraska team that I think is not good, and they had to go all the way to the 4th quarter final drive to beat Nebraska at home.
And didn't Indiana beat Nebraska
by like
57?
That's what I'm saying. You can't in the Big Ten, you can't just take any week off unless you're playing like a real bottom dweller, like a Purdue this year.
Purdue stinks.
Yeah, like if you're playing like a Purdue, Northwestern, really, Ohio State, the first quarter, they dicked around with them a little bit and then blew them out. But like you saw what happened this weekend. Oregon goes to Camp Randall at night, one of the toughest places to play in the country. And they got a very, very fortunate chop block call that a lot of people don't think they should have got. And that's what they escaped by the skin of their teeth against Wisconsin. So, and Oregon's had their close calls, Idaho early in the year, Boise State early in the year. So, it really, I don't want to say it's any given Saturday, but it really is like in those top conferences, SEC, Big Ten, if you're playing on the road, it ain't easy. It ain't easy, and sometimes not even easy if you're at home. And next 2 weeks are going to tell us a lot, Tick. So the long-winded answer to your question and circle back is I think there's a lot of football left in these next 3 weeks that this thing is going to change three more times. It's going to change three more times.
The fact that they factor in the conference championships and not just the regular season makes the idea that those 4 buys coming from the top 5 power school programs, that makes it 10 times more ridiculous that they have it that way, in my opinion.
Well, how about this? How about if you're Notre Dame and you're a Notre Dame team, let's say they didn't lose that fucking stupid game to Northern Illinois, and let's say they were undefeated and they had some pretty good wins. How in the world can you tell me that this team doesn't get a bye? They're not even eligible. They can't get one.
They don't ever be better than 5. They'll be playing in the first round forever.
That's right.
They should have made a stink about that.
Maybe that will incentivize them to join a conference because
no way.
Yeah, well,
they make way too much money from those TV deals, dude. They make way too much money. They care way much more about that than ever winning something, in my opinion. Yeah. I would. Their TV deal is massive. Sure, a lot of heart on that kid, huh? A lot of heart there. And by the way, Notre Dame playing Army this week. I love Army. I really do love that kid, Daly. They're gonna get slaughtered.
Notre Dame's good.
Yeah, and just you got to do it out of respect for Army. That's why they're ranked in the top 25. But be honest, there's 25 teams in this country that are probably better than Army. Their offense, they're just not up to that level. I love them, but they're
if that quarterback plays for Army, they're very tough offensively. So I'm curious. I mean, they're already locked in for the AAC championship game against Tulane. So that conference championship game is locked and loaded, ready to go. I mean, if they smack around Tulane, I don't know. But Army, that's a hell of a story this year. Army, they're really cool.
That QB's fun to watch, man.
Yes.
He's exciting to watch.
Yes.
All right, boys, let's move on to some football. Let's move on here to week 11. Let's move on here to week 11. We can recap that. Let's start with the Thursday night game. The Commanders went to Philadelphia, played a pretty tough game, but the Eagles came out on top, especially there in the fourth quarter, winning 26-18 in Philadelphia. Saquon had 2 touchdowns. What'd you guys see there?
Saquon's just unbelievable. And, for all we said about the Eagles, how their season started, the coaching stuff, they're looking pretty good right now at 8-2 now. I mean, 8-2. They look good. They're winning games. They're covering spreads. Like, you got to be happy, Ticket, with what you're seeing out of them the last few weeks. Because they look solid, man. They look really, really solid.
Yeah, it's their first real solid win in a while, especially since this comeback. I mean, they beat Cleveland, who stinks, the Giants, who stink, Cincinnati's kind of revealing themselves. That at the time was probably a big turnaround win, but they're turning out to be shitty. Jacksonville, Dallas is god-awful. So this is a really great win for the Eagles. I'm not going to deny that, and it does
There's only like
they're headed in the right
5
direction.
good teams in this league, though.
It's crazy.
Yeah, but those teams that I just listed are the bottom of the league.
Yeah.
Outside of the Bengals.
But I honestly think that the fall off from like the top 7 or 8 teams in the league is very drastic, though. Sure, I really do. I think it's so drastic. The Eagles, for me, now are a top 5 team in the NFL. The Eagles defense, to me, has been the spark for them. They are on the rise. Their stock is going up. They've, over the last couple of weeks, and granted, like all the teams like Tickets mentioned, but you still got to go out there and do it, limiting teams to very minimal yardage. Nakobe Dean, I saw make plays on Jaden Daniels that are elite linebacker play. Elite linebacker play they got from Nakobe Dean on Thursday night. Made a couple plays where I was like, oh my God. I'm like, not many guys in the league can make the plays that Nakobe Dean made. And Jalen Carter has ascended.
Stride.
He's ascended to the level that I think everyone assumed he may have reached when he was at Georgia. And then the back end of that secondary, man, Blankenship, the kid
Quinyon.
Quinyon Mitchell, Dick, I told you you're going to love him. Cooper
DeJean is a fun guy to watch.
From Iowa. The secondary looks great. They shut down everything Thursday night. And they got the run game going with Barkley. And, as inconsistent as Jalen Hurts and as erratic as Jalen Hurts could look at times, because I think in part because of the play calling and in part because I think he is a very rhythmic quarterback. if the run game's going like they got it going with Saquon, it really that'll ease all the pain and that'll mask a lot of the problems that the offense has. If you give the ball to 26, it covers a lot of warts. It really does when you have a run game that good. So moving forward, the Eagles, I agree with Joe. I think tickets really should feel pretty fuzzy and cozy inside with this Eagles
I do.
team.
I feel great. I don't think they're a Super Bowl winning team, but could they get there this year? Absolutely. I think what you just mentioned about Jalen Hurts, especially with everything else clicking with Saquon, the defense, and then you have two guys like AJ Brown and Devonta Smith. He's the thing separating us from being the best team at the NFL to being a top 5 team. He is the one guy with his inconsistent play. If we had a quarterback that was the more consistent and could get the ball to AJ Brown and Devonta Smith more consistently, then I think we have all the makings of being the best team in the NFL. So he's the one guy holding us back, I think, at this point, as well as the play calling, which you touched on as well. All right, let's move on to the main event. What everyone wants to talk about: Packers, Bears, close game, 20-19. Gentlemen, who wants to start?
Go ahead, Joe. Winners first.
I mean, listen, this is a game that we won that we really didn't deserve. Full transparency, I messaged Mikey during the game, and I was not trying to be like jinxing or reverse psychology. I honestly was like shocked at how well the Bears played. Because I had this as my game of the week. I thought the Packers were going to go in there. I think Mikey thought the same thing, and I thought we were going to take care of business. Caleb Williams looked very good, in my opinion. I thought his ability to read the defense and just make decisions, whether it was running or go through his reads and find the open player, I thought he played awesome. And I thought, to me, the eye test from all the games I've watched, and I haven't watched a ton of Bears games, but I've seen quite a few. This was by far the best game I think I've seen him play. I think his quarterback rating was really high. I don't know what it was. I think
it was in the 90s. It was in the 90s.
Yeah,
I mean, listen, he's put up better games statistically against like the Jags and the Panthers, but I mean,
those are bottom feeders. I'm talking about against
his best game.
Against
in terms of against a good opponent, this was. I mean, listen, this was good. It was good.
And on top of that, I think the Bears were ready to play the Packers. They looked on the defensive end. They made plays when they needed to. Even the touchdown that they got at the end. I know that it came after that 65-yard, Christian Watson catch and run, which was ridiculous. But they held them to the 2-point conversion. They stopped them, and they put their offense in a position where they could drive down the field and win the game, which is exactly what they did. They got sacked twice, first and second down, 3rd and 19. I'm thinking, okay, this is done. Yeah. Packers are going to wrap this up. He made a great throw, and then on 4th down makes a really ballsy throw, a back shoulder toss to Roma Dunze, which was just a great throw and catch as far as I'm concerned. And once that happened, I said, we're going to lose this game. So I texted Mikey, and I was not trying. I legitimately thought the game, I swear to God, Mikey. I know. I legitimately thought the game was over, and and my text was something like, you know what, you guys deserve this one. I really did. I thought the game was over. And I said this to Jet today. I have come to the conclusion that I think that the Chicago Bears franchise is cursed. I just can't comprehend on any other way. The Packers have not beaten us in over 5 years. Like it's just like there are certain teams in the NFL that just have a number of the other team. Our team, we can't beat the Niners to fucking save our lives.
Yeah.
There's some teams, they just have your number no matter what happens.
It's like the Giants with the Eagles. Giants can never beat the Eagles. They 100%. Just never beat the Eagles. They never do.
And that's just, it almost seems like it. And I messaged Mikey after. I felt awful. And it's one of those games like, listen, as a Packers fan, I'll take the W 100%. But it's one of those ones where that should be in the L column instead of the winning column. And it's just, I don't know how else to comprehend it. I think this team is cursed. It's awful. If you're a Bears fan, I don't know what you do. Just a tough scene. And just, I was in a legitimate shock that we blocked a field goal. Cairo Santos is a good kicker too. Let's Make no bones about it. It's not like he stinks.
No, I mean, listen, there's one guy to blame for this loss and one guy only, and it's the same guy that's been at the helm of control for the last 3 years, and it's Matt Eberflus. Matt Eberflus, the Shane Waldron firing was necessary, but like I tweeted out a couple weeks ago before Waldron got fired, I said Waldron will get fired, and it's a necessary step. But the real move is to never have re-signed Matt Nagy, or never to have allowed Matt Eberflus, same fucking guy.
A lot of Matts.
Yeah. The real move was not to retain Matt Eberflus this season. They needed to move on from him. Jim Harbaugh was staring them dead in the face, and they were so fucking arrogant and cheap that they didn't think they needed him, and they thought they could do it their way. And this guy has botched close game after close game after close game. He's got a track record for it. 8 times at halftime, he's had a 70% chance or better to win a game. He's blown all 8 games. He loses games his teams lose games in fashions that are unfathomable. Hail Mary this year, now the blocked field goal. He is singularly responsible for this loss because the Bears had 30-something seconds with one timeout after they got that first down, the throw to Keenan Allen. After they got the first to Rome Odunze, he made another good throw to Keenan Allen. They had 30 seconds and a timeout. And this asshole let the entire clock bleed out and then took the timeout. It was only second down, and they could have ran another play. They could have let Caleb throw. They could have ran the ball. You're making an assumption that 47 yards is like, you're treating it as if it's a gimme field goal. You have to get every single yard possible to make that as easy of a kick as possible. Yeah. Unless you're inside like the 25-yard line, 20-yard line, and you just want to center the ball or get it to a hash mark that the kicker wants it at. At that distance, there is no guarantees whatsoever. It was a boneheaded decision. He doubled down on it this week. He was like,
they did in the first half too, didn't they? Where they let the time run all the way down.
He's a terrible manager of the clock. He has been since the beginning. He's not qualified to be a head coach. He's not. He's proven it over and over and over. He'll be gone after this year. There's not a single doubt in my mind, which is actually like the silver linings I take out of this for the Bears, if any, is I thought Caleb was tremendous. I thought Caleb Williams was
really
tremendous. He got sacked only 3 times. 2 of them came on that last drive. And when it was 3rd and 19, Joe, I also was like, yeah, it's done. He was masterful. He had 70 yards on the ground. He was 23 of 31 passing. He didn't
really good,
he didn't turn the ball over. Again, this is like his 4th game now in a row with no turnovers. So he's not hurting his team. He might not have been doing enough the previous weeks to help his team, but he's certainly not being as detrimental to the team. He looked so much more comfortable with this new offensive coordinator. It looked a lot different. The offense looked a lot different. It looked like he had a level of comfortability. It looked like he was getting the ball out faster. He was taking what the defense was giving him, wasn't trying to play hero ball the whole time. But the bottom line is, how many moral victories can you take as a Bears fan? Like, I'm sick and tired of moral victories. I want to win football games. I want to beat divisional opponents. And Matt Eberflus has not been able to do that. I think he's won 1 divisional game his entire tenure against Detroit last year. He's an absolute, he's the worst head coach in the NFL. Right now, as it stands today, Matt Eberflus is the worst head coach in the NFL. And I don't even think it's relatively that close. I really don't think it's that close, Tick. He's the worst head coach in the NFL. Some people may say, well, Doug Peterson. I don't think so. Doug Peterson's got a Super Bowl. No matter what you want to say about Doug Peterson, what you want to say about Mike McCarthy, they both have a Lombardi trophy sitting in their trophy case. Matt Eberflus is the worst coach in the NFL.
McCarthy's pretty bad.
He is, dog, but he is pretty bad, but that team stinks, and they did nothing to help it either. They didn't. They sat on their hands the whole offseason, the Cowboys. So, yeah. I mean, at least he has something in the resume. Eberflus he's terrible, man. But again, silver lining wise, I think Caleb, with the amount of draft equity they have, money they have, but my God, if they go cheap on the coach again and they hire some no-name coordinator that they think is going to rise to the ascension of being, this, if they hire another guy who nobody's ever heard of to be the head coach, I'm going to lose my fucking mind. This team needs an alpha leader head coach. No more of this.
Harbaugh's doing a pretty good job in LA.
Of course he is.
Mikey, who would you go out and hire right now if you could, or for next year?
I'd love to get Ben Johnson from Detroit, the offensive coordinator. I would love to get him.
I don't think leave though.
I don't think. Well, I think he'll leave, but I don't know if he's going to want to go to the Bears. I just don't know if he's going to want to play for that organization. I don't know if he's going to want to coach for that organization. I would love an alpha personality, man. I really would. I would have loved Jim Harbaugh. But I don't think the Bears organization will ever hire a polarizing figure as a head coach. I just don't see that happening because they like to be able to be in control of these head coaches. I feel as though they like more of like a yes man type of guy.
Bring back the Ditka days.
I'd love that. I mean, that's the kind of guy. That's the kind of guy. Lovie Smith. Lovie Smith was another guy who he was not a puppet, Lovie Smith. But I mean, these guys, your Nagy and your Eberflus and, what's his name? That clown, the other clown they hired, the offensive guru that they hired who lasted for like 2 years, lost the locker. Mark Trestman. They keep just getting it wrong and wrong and wrong. So, but yeah, the game itself, Eberflus.
A guy like Dan Campbell would do well in Chicago.
Oh my God. Tailor-made for Chicago, a guy like him.
Yeah.
Well, but he ain't going anywhere.
No, obviously not. But I'm saying that's the kind of guy.
Yeah, I know.
That would really, and even like what's his name from the Patriots? I'd love to see a guy like that.
Yeah.
I think what's his name? What's the head coach from the Patriots who used to play for them?
He used to play for him. Yeah.
Mikey, who's that now?
The Patriots head coach.
No,
Patriots head coach.
Oh, Patriots head coach who? Belichick?
No, their current coach. What the fuck is his name?
Oh, Gerard Mayo.
Mayo.
Yeah.
Guy like that. No bones about him. Fucking guy doesn't put up with bullshit.
Yeah.
Or of Vrabel. Would you like
Vrabel? Would be good.
Yeah.
I like Vrabel's personality a lot, and I think he would be a good head coach. You know what? I really hope that I want to see what the new O coordinator could do. I want to see what Thomas Brown could do, the new offensive coordinator. I loved his passion in the press box. He was going nuts when they took the lead before halftime. He was fired up, more so than I've ever seen Eberflus on the sideline. Very animated, looked very passionate. I thought he called a really good game for Caleb for the most part. I thought he called a good game offensively. I'd like to see it. If they could retain him, name him officially the offensive coordinator, and you bring a guy like Vrabel in, I'd be for that. But I just can't see the Bears hiring an alpha polarizing kind of a guy like a Vrabel. I hope I'm wrong, but the Bears are they like these puppet guys. They like to be able to hire these puppets that they could George McCaskey could just be a marionette and just control everything that they do.
By the way, you know what this weekend taught me is how much Bears fans just want to beat Green Bay. I have seen so many videos on my news feed, on my Instagram feed, of just like disgruntled, just pissed off, just it's tough to watch. It really is.
I mean, but you got to understand, bro. Like you got to understand, Joe. Like you don't know what this is like. Like you don't know what this is like. Like it's like it's like I don't know what it would be like if you were like a Wisconsin fan and I'm an Ohio State fan, and every year you're like, why the fuck? Or no. If you're a Penn State fan,
it's
like
a good
being
one.
a Penn State fan.
Sure.
You're going to, well, actually it's really not, because Penn State wins a lot of games. They lose the big games all the time. They never win big games, Penn State. It's so very frustrating, bro. And then to lose in that fashion is just like, when you really look at that game and you like 9 out of 10 times you should win that game. Like he should be able to at least
9.5 times out of 10.
It'd be one thing if he got the kickoff and just missed the kick. If he just missed the kick, and it went wide left or wide right or doinked. I mean, I've been through that already, the double doink. So I've lived that down. Like, it's like I said, like I did on my rant this week on Instagram. Like, how are we going to lose next week? Is it going to be a game? Are we going to be up 1 point and take a game ending safety like that? Like I'm just trying to figure out, because I feel like we've lost in every possible fashion you could lose it. They come up with a new way to lose brutally every week. So it's like, it's really like, how many more ways can you come up? It's like scoreagami, but it's for losers. It's lose-agami. Like, how many different ways can we fucking figure out ways to lose? That's what it feels like.
Could it ever get to a place, Mikey, where you're just like, I'm not even going to watch.
I got to tell you,
watch.
Tick, if you watch the Barstool post of me sitting, if you watch me and Big Cat and Pat Beverly react to that. Now, Pat Beverly put like $2,000 on the Bears money line to come back and win that game. After Jordan Love's almost scored that touchdown, the Packers scored. I forget who scored for the Packers the last touchdown.
It was Love.
Beverly fired in like 2 G's on the Bears money line. If you watch the reactions of me, Eddie, Pat Bev, and Big Cat, my reaction,
she was like this.
My reaction was almost like Big Cat said, he goes, I can't believe this. And I looked at him, and you can't hear it, but if you listen carefully, I go, you can't? That was my exact, like, I'm so numb to it at this point. Like that, I just like it's so beyond explanation. The Hail Mary play, I'm in the basement. Me and my wife and the kids were going crazy. We're having fun celebrating. And I was like, it's over. I said that. I was like, it's over. I go, it's impossible, Holly. I go, there's no way. I go, it just does not happen. I go, it happens like once every 4 years to a team that happens. I'm so numb to this shit that like, I just like, it's hard to explain, man. It takes a lot out of like the rooting.
The Hail Mary, and then this loss.
I mean all within a month, basically.
It's 4 weeks. Yeah.
All within a month
is insane.
Yeah.
And the only thing that doesn't make it crazy is that we saw the Chiefs do it last week against the Broncos.
Yeah.
Sure.
Now there's a lot of question marks about like whether or not there should be a penalty thrown for them blowing up the center.
Listen, that question was posed to me too. Do I think there should have been a penalty for leverage or, bumping the long snapper? They probably could have threw a flag on that play. But again, the bottom line is they were put in a terrible position because of the head coach. The head coach made a boneheaded decision.
Sure.
The worst thing is he doubles down on saying that he would do it again. He doesn't regret it during the week. That's what infuriates me about this clown. He never, ever will just be like, yeah, I probably should have just ran a play. He knows he's on death row. He knows he's sitting on death row now because he's done. Black Monday, he's going to be one of the first announcements to get fired on Black Monday. So he knows but the hubris and the ego to not even fucking admit like, bro, run another play. You don't know what's going to happen. Look what the Chargers did. J.K. Dobbins breaks that 37-yard touchdown run against the Bengals. Now, granted, the Bengals defense isn't great, but they ran a play. You run another, if you got the time with a timeout in the back pocket and it's not 3rd down or 4th down, you run a play. I would have rather went down on some wacky fumble than a blocked field goal. I really would.
That would have been devastating too, though, truly, Mikey.
It would have been devastating. No doubt about it, but I would have never been like, at that point, Caleb was in such a rhythm too in that drive. Like, I wouldn't even have minded if Caleb dropped back and threw the ball. I'd really like, listen, Ticket, we're 4-5. We never beat this team. We didn't go after the Packers. We tried to just do it the easiest way possible. We didn't attack them. We didn't try and take it directly to them and outright beat them. We said, oh my God, holy shit, he converted a 3rd and 19. Now we're in field goal range. Stop. Let's go. Let's kick the field goal. Like, be aggressive. You have nothing to lose. You have nothing to lose.
It was almost like they're in a territory where they just haven't been before and they didn't know what to do.
Yeah, he shit himself. He is, by the way, Caleb Williams on 4th and 3 was screaming at him on one, not the 4th and 3 that they elected to punt. There was another 4th down where Caleb Williams screamed at Matt Eberflus to go for it, and he got on another 4th down. This coach is he's a clown. The players don't respect him. They respect the quarterback who's a rookie more than they respect his coach.
In all fairness to Mikey, when they first hired him, Mikey was all aboard the Ryan Poles. He was like, I think this guy's awesome.
I love Ryan Poles. I do. I still like Ryan Poles.
Like,
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure about this Eberflus. I don't know if it's the right hire. However, if Poles is vouching for him, then that's what you said. I still remember.
Yes.
But you were very uncertain.
My problem now with Ryan Poles is like, dog, like you're dying on this hill. Yeah, and you got to get off this hill. You can't die on the Matt Eberflus hill.
You got to cut your
losses.
losses.
He's making him look terrible. So the first order of business, as soon as that week 17-18 whistle, final whistle of the final play in their final game against Green Bay. I think they play Green Bay last game of the year, Joe, in Lambeau. That final whistle, they better fucking announce that this guy's gone, because this guy is doing nothing but bad. Nothing but bad.
Are you afraid at all that he could play well, or he could coach this team well for the rest of the season and then even win that Packers game, which could be the worst thing that could maybe save his job and have him come back next year?
Like I'm going to tell you this.
I've seen that happen
Caleb
before.
looks so good against the blitz. Like, they play Minnesota at home this Sunday. I wouldn't be surprised if they gave Sam Darnold a hard time and made that game interesting. I wouldn't be surprised. But again, I think that in the end, I've seen this guy just figure out ways to lose games, man. And I'm going to ride the odds with that.
But sometimes when these coaches start to play better, like, look, Sirianni was about to get fired 6 weeks ago, and now he's playing well, and now his job seems totally secure. And that happens that happens a lot.
Eagles, I mean, I still think Eagles roster-wise, though, are still much.
Oh, for sure. I'm just saying sometimes
I wouldn't say much more talented than the Bears, because I actually think the Bears have a decent roster, but I think offensive line, the Eagles in the trenches are so much better than the Bears. Their O-line is so much better. That's the difference with a team like that. But I mean, the Bears, listen, Minnesota, Detroit, San Francisco. So listen to this next 5 games. Listen to this. Minnesota, at Detroit, at San Francisco, at Minnesota, against Detroit. That's the next 5 games. You got to play the Lions twice. There's no chance.
You're going to lose 4 out of 5.
They'll lose. Yeah. I mean, honestly, the easiest game on the schedule right now may be at San Francisco.
Yeah.
Or the Vikings at home.
Yeah. Not a good spot. Not a good spot. Not a good spot. The best thing that you could hope is that they do fire him and they don't find a reason to keep him around.
Well, they were going to fire him last year, and the guy rattled off like 5-6 wins.
That's what I'm saying.
At the end of the year, and he got back.
That's exactly right. Hopefully it doesn't happen this year. All right, let's move on here. The Ravens went to Pittsburgh. Pretty good game, defensive game. Pittsburgh ended up pulling that one out 18-16. Wasn't pretty for us, but he got it done. Gentlemen, what'd you say?
Yeah, I loved Pittsburgh on Sunday. Put it out as a pick. I knew I was going to be with Jerry also, so I did want to root for Pittsburgh. But genuinely, here's the thing. You talk about teams that just can't seem to beat another team. The Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson, cannot figure out the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's now 1-9 against the Steelers, I think it is.
God.
He's 1-9 against Pittsburgh. And I believe that one win he had was against Mason Rudolph. I think it was the backup quarterback for Pittsburgh when Roethlisberger was still there. So the tail end of Roethlisberger's career. The Baltimore Ravens defense, they played better, but the Steelers offense is not world beaters by any means. They're just a grind you out team. Steelers defense and special teams is carrying them through this season so far. Russell has done enough, and that's all he's got to do, is just do enough. Because with the run game, that defense, their kicker, who's been Boswell's been the best kicker in football, and their special teams in general. And the fact is, at home, Mike Tomlin, as an underdog, against a guy they never lose to. They just never lose to him. I don't know. Some things are not explainable. They're not easy to explain. But for whatever reason, like we talked about the Bears never being able to beat the Packers, this Ravens team with Lamar at the helm cannot beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. They just can't do it. They can't figure it out.
Crazy. I have to say, I think the Steelers are the quietest 8-2 team in the league.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you think Steelers, you think they're a good team, the middle of the crop.
Because they don't put up any of those gaudy numbers. They don't put up the 40-point games.
They don't win pretty. They don't win pretty. They win smash mouth. Defense normally makes at least 1 or 2 huge plays a game. And you know what? I will give credit to Russell. He's been able to come in and get wins. And then in this league, that's what matters. And they got confidence in them right now, and they're rolling. And you know what? The way that defense is, that's a team that I wouldn't want to play in the playoffs.
Couple things about the Steelers that I've noticed this year. Najee Harris, he still runs straight upwards, but he looks a lot better this year. He looks thinner. He looks a lot better.
Yeah.
That's 1. 2, the back end of that Steelers defense, Minkah Fitzpatrick, some of these other guys, they do not allow the really big play. They'll allow a big play, but they'll keep a big play from turning into a tremendous play. I saw so many shoestring touchdown saving clutch tackles by that Steeler defense on Sunday where the play against a mediocre or a shitty defense would have went for 6. It didn't. They limit the damage on defense. And then again, that special teams, man, the special teams and George Pickens, when George Pickens is under control and he's actually like in the game focused and they have him reeled in a little bit.
He's really
this
talented.
guy's a nightmare. He's a nightmare to deal with for a defense. He catches. He's a monster tick. With contested catches, he is one of the best I've ever seen. He's really is.
He's a nut.
He's a nut. That's the problem. That's why I prefaced everything with when he's reeled in and when he's under control. But those things to me about this Steelers team just stand out. The special teams, the tackling on defense, Najee Harris in the run game, and then George Pickens when he's in the right frame of mind makes them a dangerous football team, especially at home. Yeah,
that defense bends, but it rarely breaks.
Well, look, they gave up the touchdown at the end of the game, and they held them
for the 2. The touchdown didn't matter. It was all about the 2-point conversion.
But go back to the initial point that you made. The Steelers, I think, ever since Roethlisberger left, they've had quietly good winning seasons. They often have great winning records, and you're like, when did that happen? How did that happen? But Mike Tomlin just finds ways to win.
Well, also too, you're watching Red Zone. You're not seeing a lot of scoring on the Steelers. You're just seeing a whole bunch of field goals from Chris Boswell. Because they can get down there, they just normally can't convert.
Yeah, that was wild.
And you know what?
6 for 6 on field goals. Just
I faced them in the one league. I almost lost.
Oh God! Yeah,
he had like 27 points in our league.
Yeah, that's a nightmare.
Yeah, well, you should focus on that league more than the other one because there's no money in ours.
Oh,
oh my God!
I was in dire straits. I thought he was.
You
being
thought
serious.
He was serious?
I did. I don't know him well enough.
He's just a shit. He's a shit stir.
But the other thing too is he didn't collect any money, so it kind of.
That's true too. Yeah.
It made it seem
that's true.
He didn't collect any money.
You should probably get some of that money at some point.
Yeah, he sure should. Yeah. All right, let's do one more game from last week, and then we'll get into next week. Let's go to the Chiefs and the Bills. Probably the most watched game of possibly the season, but certainly last week. The Bills ended up pulling it out. Josh Allen continues to roll. They won 30-21. What'd you guys see there?
The guy who wants to win, man.
Yeah. Yeah. MVP for me right now, probably just passes Lamar. Because of this performance against the Chiefs, that last play on the 4th down. That's like a sigh of relief for Bills fans. Again, another situation where a team is not satisfied with taking a greater than field goal but less than a touchdown lead to give the ball back to Patrick Mahomes, wants to stick the dagger in and kill the monster, and that's exactly what they did. And that was a quintessential play, a defining play for Allen this season, a defining play for the Bills this season. Of course, Jim Nance called it the play of the year. As soon as Allen crossed the goal line, he said, the play of the year. Certainly could be considered that, I mean, really. And when you look at what it meant, here's the only thing I'll say. I mean, I love the Bills. They were my game of the week. I felt confident about Buffalo at home, but again, I hate to rain on the Bills fans parade because I think the Bills are great. I think they're a top 5 team in the NFL with a bullet, but November ain't January, dog. Mm-hmm. November ain't January. I got to see them do it against this team in the playoffs when it counts because they're going to meet again. There's not a doubt in my mind they'll meet again down the road in the playoffs unless, one of these other AFC teams knocks one of them off before they get the opportunity to, but they'll meet again. And can the Bills do it again when it really, really matters? Not that it doesn't matter. Of course it matters to a degree, but the Chiefs still have a better record right now than the Bills do. But I got to see it in January, dog. I got to see the Bills get this monkey off their back and beat them in the playoffs.
This happened last year. They won in spectacular fashion in the regular season against the Chiefs. That was like one of the few times we saw Patrick Mahomes chirping a little bit.
That's why I can't get too much.
And then in the playoffs, of course, the Chiefs take care of business.
Right.
Yeah, it's a pattern.
That's why I can't get too much in it. You figure by the playoffs, they're going to have Pacheco back. They're not going to have Rashee Rice back, but they'll have Pacheco back. And that Chiefs defense in the playoffs, Spagnuolo turns that defensive dial up just a little bit more. It seems like in the playoffs, they become even more difficult to deal with. I was impressed with the thing that impressed me most about this game was the efficiency of the Buffalo Bills offense in the red zone. Operating in the red zone, the Chiefs had no answers stopping them in the red zone. They could not hold them to field goal attempts at all. Everything was a touchdown when the Bills got down there. That, to me, was the difference. The Chiefs, who are usually a stingy team, at times find a way to get you to go for 3 instead of 6. Could not do it. Credit the Bills' efficiency in the red zone, and that, to me, was the difference in this game, was red zone efficiency by the Buffalo offense.
Yeah, I listen, I tip my cap to the Buffalo Bills. Going back to what you were saying, Mikey, I think it's the first game the Chiefs have allowed 28 or more points in the entire year.
Defense has been good. Defense has been real good.
The defense has been dialed in.
Yep.
But the Bills did this without, their best tight end, Dalton Kincaid.
Yep.
They did it without Keon Coleman.
Yep.
And guys made plays. Shakir, to me, is a really good receiver. I think he's got a lot of skills. As long as James Cook stays healthy, this guy is, after Josh Allen, is the heartbeat of this offense, because they got guys like Amari Cooper. They got guys that they can go in and out of and make plays. They're kind of like the Packers when it comes to their receivers. Like, anybody can have a big week any given day. But James Cook just provides them such a security blanket. The fact that he can catch balls, he can run the rock, and he gives Josh Allen an element of a great running back that he really has not had within his career. And I think it makes a huge difference. And I think they're playing with confidence right now. And the Bills are firing in all single cylinders. And I said this multiple times, like, the Chiefs, to me, they're a good team. I think that they could easily have a couple more losses. I think this
they definitely could. They should have lost to Denver. They could have lost to Baltimore. I mean, they could have lost to Cincinnati.
Lost to the Bengals.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, they could easily be sitting here with 2, 3, 4 losses, So whether or not this is enough for the Bills, like you said, Mikey, to take that into the playoffs and build off of that momentum, but it does have to give you confidence beating a team, whether it's in the regular season or not, just to see that you can win. And we just talked about how some teams can never beat other teams. So that has to be a good feeling for them moving into the, into the playoffs. And if there's a world, where these guys, their schedules, where their records are similar, the wouldn't it be the fact that the Bills have beat the Kansas City Chiefs? Wouldn't that now favor them into getting a home field game, Mikey?
If the record's the same, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So might be enough that they can,
then division winner, all that shit. But yes.
All I'm saying is that these games do mean something, and I agree that the playoffs is a different story. But a guy like Josh Allen, to me, that 4th down play, he just simply said, "I'm not losing this game. Like, that's it. I'm taking the ball. I'm relying on myself, and I'm going to do it." So, great win for the Bills. The Bills seem to be on, a team that looks better than ever. And I wasn't high on them coming out of the off season. I didn't think that they made any real significant moves to improve their team, but they're playing with confidence. They look good. So kudos to them, man.
Absolutely. Yep. All right, let's move on here to Week 12 previews. Let's go over some of the bigger games or more interesting games this week. We won't do every single one of them, but if I miss your game of the week, just let me know, flag me down, and we'll go over it. Let's start on Sunday with the Vikings heading to Chicago. Vikings are favored by 3.5 points, over under 39.5. Who do you guys like there?
Yeah, this is going to sound crazy, but I do like Chicago in this game, plus the 3.5 points. And it's not just recency bias based off of what I saw against the Packers. You get Darnold, you get him out of the dome, you get him in Chicago, a little bit of weather against that defense, who I think has been playing pretty well for the most part. My biggest concern is, are they going to be able to slow down Aaron Jones? And traditionally, they have not. They've had so much trouble when Aaron Jones was with the Packers. He was a bear killer, Aaron Jones. Is he going to still be a bear killer? He could be. If he goes off, the Vikings could very well cover the game. But I'm going to take Chicago plus the 3.5. I just think that the Vikings are going to be so blitz happy, and Caleb has done very, very well against the blitz. When he sees the pressure coming immediately, he'll make his decision quickly. So when they kind of run those like delayed blitzes, or the offensive line they rush for and he sits in the pocket a little too long and then the pressure comes. But when he sees it immediately, he's been very efficient against the blitz. So I'm going to take the Bears and I'm going to take them plus the 3.5, hoping that hook goes a long way. I see them losing the game by 3 points, to be honest. I think it'll be a field goal game. So I'll take the Bears plus the 3.5.
Joey D?
I'm gonna take the Vikings here. Just because I see where Mikey's going, but I think the Vikings, it's tough to pick the Bears right now.
It is. Yeah,
it's just tough to pick the Bears, if I'm being honest.
No, it is. I'm not picking them to win the game.
No, yeah. I know. I think if you're nervous at all, which I think it's Vikings. If you're going for the Vikings, maybe buy the hook. But I'd go Vikings here.
Okay. I'm going to roll with Mikey and the Bears. I mean, I seem to always like the Bears, but I do like them for a lot of the reasons that Mikey said. I think Sam Darnold has become a little shaky. He had a decent game last week, but he's right. When you take him out of that dome, he seems to be a little bit different of a player. And the Bears, again, I'm just repeating what Mikey said, but their defense is pretty damn good. They're one of the better defenses in the league. I think they're probably close to a top 5 in the league, and it kind of feels like they'll respond well to that loss.
I don't know if they will. That's another demoralizing loss.
From Joe's perspective, I don't even think it has so much to do with the Packers' loss. I think it has to do with you just don't know what you're going to get from the Bears' offense. You just don't know. Is it going to be a good Caleb game, or is it going to be Arizona Cardinal, New England Patriot, Tennessee Titan Caleb game? You don't know. So that's why I would never advise, and I haven't put out a Bears pick, I don't think, on Only Subs all year, because they're just too erratic of a team to really gauge. But we pick on this show, and I got to pick, and I'm going to take them with the 3.5, only because of the hook. If it was 3, I'd take Minnesota. I really think that hook could come into play.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on here. The Lions are heading to Indianapolis. The Lions are favored by 7. They're absolutely rolling. I think Jared's probably pretty close to that MVP conversation as well. I'm sure Josh is beating him, but he's got to be right in that mix. Over under 49.5. Who do you guys like there?
This Colts team has been one of these teams that's just hanging around, man. They're hanging around, and they every time I feel like they're going to get blown out or they're not going to be able to do something, they do it. But the Lions are just a wagon this year. They're a wagon, and I'm not going to be the guy to say that they're not going to cover this game. Who am I to say that? They covered a 2-touchdown spread last week like it was nothing. Like it was, this spread could have been 28 points.
Game was over at halftime.
That's what I mean. Like, they're not just beating teams; they're blowing teams out. I mean, the one game where their quarterback throws 5 interceptions, they still beat the team that they played and covered. They still beat the team they played and covered. So I'm not gonna be the guy that picks the Colts plus the 7.5. Even though I do think the Colts maybe could make it interesting, I'm gonna take Detroit with the points, man. I just am.
Joey D.
I mean, he's kind of painted a good picture. That being said, I'm going to take the Colts with the points because
you see, I'm not surprised. I get why he's doing this. I'm not surprised by that.
This is the second week now where the Lions are, a pretty big favorite. I just see so much money getting put on the Lions on another side, right? Like if you're just going to follow the money, and I think that the Colts are kind of. Richardson kind of looked good last week, He
did.
They got some weapons. They could get some rushes with Jonathan Taylor. And
that Jets team is also in shambles, though.
I know. I'm not saying, again, the Colts are going to win.
Just fired their GM.
They could lose by 6 points and you cover.
Yeah.
Yeah. They could lose by 7 and you cover. So
I get what you're saying. This is why I prefaced it. I get what the mentality of the pick. I'm just not going to be the one to do it, but kudos to you.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to roll with Mikey with the Lions. I see it as well, especially with Anthony Richardson. It's a different team when he's there and he's playing like that. But I'm going to roll. The Lions just look unbeatable right now. They just look unstoppable. So give me Detroit minus the 7 there. Let's move on here to the 49ers heading to Green Bay. Green Bay is favored by 2.5 points, over under 47.5. As Joe said earlier, that they seem to always have the Packers number. A little bit different of a team this year, but who do you guys like?
Man, let me tell you.
Give me another loss for the Packers to the Niners.
I got Green Bay. I got Green Bay minus the 2.5 at home. San Fran, something's off in San Francisco. And again, in the very beginning of football season, I spoke to you guys about how they have the worst rest advantage in the last like 30 years in the NFL. How daunting and brutal their schedule has been and will continue to be in terms of net rest, days that they've been able to get rest. They're dinged up everywhere. Christian McCaffrey is not 100%. He's not 100%.
Kittle is not 100%.
Kittle has been dinged up the whole year.
Yep.
Debo Samuel has gone MIA completely.
Ayuk's gone.
Ayuk is gone. Juwan Jennings has had a really nice year. Good for him. I like Green Bay here, Joe. I think Green Bay covers this, and I got to be honest, I think they cover it quite comfortably. I contemplated this almost being my game of the week. I'm not sure if it will be or not because I think I have one other game that I really like. But I'm telling you, I like the Packers here, especially under a field goal, because you're really not asking too much here from Green Bay. It's not like you're asking them a field goal wins the game, wins the bet. Give me the Packers minus the 2.5. I think the Packers take it to San Francisco and break that little curse or whatever, mini curse against the Niners, Joe.
Yeah, it's more than a mini curse. We've lost a shit ton of games.
I know, I get it. I listen. You're probably the same mentality that I am with the.
Listen. I want to tail your bet here and take the Packers, but again, for the same reasons as I said, I'm always going to take the Packers against the Bears. The Packers, for some reason, just can't figure out the Niners, and I know the Niners have not looked good. They lost last week. They almost lost 2 weeks ago. They almost blew a fucking huge lead, which is preposterous. But they just kind of Shanahan, every time he plays this, just calls such a good offensive game. And our defense is always just in shambles when we play them. So I hope this is the pick. I'm wrong, but I would take the Niners with the points here. Simply just out of principle, because I just don't see the Packers winning.
It feels like it's coming from the heart and less from the head there, Joe.
It is.
Yeah.
Pop.
Fair enough.
And I don't want to jinx my team. I'd rather take the other team and then be wrong about them winning, you know?
Fair enough. You don't have to jinx them because I'll do it myself. I'm going to take the Packers minus the 2.5 for a lot of, I mean, it's less than a field goal. They're the better team right now. They just are. The 49ers are broken. Brock Purdy, I don't believe in him. I just don't. People hated me last week for saying it. People will continue to hate me for saying it. I just don't think he's the guy that's going to take them all the way. That being said, there's a lot of players that are hurt. I get that. That Pearsall's a nice little player for
Ricky
him too.
Pearsall, yeah.
I kind of like him, but yeah, give me the Packers covering that minus 2.5. Let's move on here. The Cardinals are heading to Seattle. Seattle's favored by 1 point. Basically a pick 'em there, over under 47.5. Who do you guys like?
My game of the week. And I'm taking the Cardinals.
Okay.
I'm taking the Cardinals money line. I think the Seattle Seahawks are wildly overrated. And I think the Cardinals, Pop, we talked about it. Was it last week or 2 weeks ago?
Last week, yeah.
Cardinals
they're coming off a bye too, right? Arizona.
Yeah, they're coming off a bye. I think Kyler's starting to figure some things out. They're starting to get that running game going. James Conner looks really good right now. The Seahawks, man, listen, the Geno Smith is good for at least 1 or 2 big mistakes a game. And I just don't believe in them. I think that the Cardinals are the better team here. I know they're playing in Seattle, so that's never an easy place to play. But I think the Cardinals are going to win this game. I think they got a better team. And I think Kyler's going to do enough to extend plays. I'm taking the Cardinals minus. I'll take the money line. I mean, I guess I could take them +1, but give me Cardinals money line. If I'm going to go +1, I might as well just take them to win the game.
Yeah. I like Joe's pick, Arizona.
Fuck.
And if you're going to take them +1, I'm taking money line.
That was my game of the week too. I'll readjust.
No. If that's your game of the week,
you can take it too, Pop, if you like it.
Take it too. No, don't readjust. Don't do that, because if it wins and you don't have it, that's not fair.
That's true. The Cardinals are a good football team, in my opinion. I like what Kyler's
they run the ball very well.
McBride is really good.
Explosive. They're
McBride's tremendous.
Marvin Harrison Jr., one of the best out there. I mean, you got to get more consistent.
All right, so that's the game of the week for both of you.
That's the game.
Wow.
Of the week.
Anything that I said that you want to add on?
A tag team. No, basically everything I said last week, and as well as the Seahawks are just They just seem to know how to get in their own way. They'll sometimes win games that they shouldn't, and they seem to lose a lot of games that they should. And I think the Cardinals are just the better team right now. They're really finding something. That McBride is unstoppable. And if you're just going to give it 1 point there and you're going to give it to the Cardinals, just because they're in Seattle, I'll give me the Cardinals. I think they have more fortitude than that.
Two Cardinals, one stone.
That's right. A little tag team action there. All right, let's move on to the Sunday night game. The Eagles are taking on the Rams. Eagles are favored by 3 points, over under 48.5. Who do you guys like?
Yeah, I got that live line right now, tick on DraftKings at 2.5. It's 2.5 now, Philly.
Okay.
Very, 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 very fishy line.
Okay.
If I think about this game and the way Philly's played lately, this to me should be a 5-point spread, a 4-point spread at minimum. Philly should be 4 or 5 points at minimum. That being said, it makes me take a little caution. Makes me think a little bit. But I'm telling you what I'm not going to think about. My game of the week, the Philadelphia Eagles and the LA Rams under 48.5 points.
Love that.
Under 48.5 points. You have a rising Eagles defense. They're not going to allow many points to this Rams team. They're not. Rams are going to try to run the ball with Kieran Williams, keep the ball out of the Philadelphia offense's hands. It'll eat clock up. The Eagles are going to, in turn, run the ball with Saquon Barkley. There's going to be a lot of running in this game. That's going to eat up clock. I can't see 50 points being scored in this game. I just can't. I could see the Eagles blowing them out, but I don't see the Rams putting up points. But that line is so fucking weird to me that it makes me want to stay away from the spread. So my game of the week is going to be the under 48.5 Eagles Rams.
I like that. Joey D?
I'm going to take the Eagles to cover. I think they're kind of a wagon right now, and they seem to be just, they're covering spreads every week, which is good to see.
Yeah, they are.
Why is this 2.5, Joe?
I'll tell you why, because they haven't really beaten many good teams.
Is this a good team, this Rams team, Tick?
I think
it's the Miami Dolphins at home.
I think it's better than 4 out of the last 5 teams they've played. I think it's definitely better than that.
You love the Rams, though, dude. You're not the right guy to ask about the Rams. You're not. The Bears beat the Rams, dog.
The Rams are a team, Mikey, that one week they look really good, and then the next week, like that Dolphins game, they looked awful. It's really hard to gauge what Matt Stafford you're going to get, because when he plays like he did last week, he looks awesome and he's making throws. And
on the road against New England too. I mean, listen, good game, but I think that this Philly defense, man, is like something is happening with this Philly defense. Now I could come back and eat my words next week, but I watched the way they played against Washington. They were smothering. That defense they were flying all over the field. The secondary, the pass rush, everybody was all over the field, man. If they do that against this geriatric fuck Matt Stafford, no offense, Ticket. I got a lot of love for Matt Stafford. He's a Hall of Famer. He's a gold jacket guy. If they do that against this team and they could lock down Kupp and Nakua and take that away and force them to be one-dimensional, I think it'll be a long day for the Rams.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like the Eagles in this game too, and I'm going to take them with the -2.5. But I think the reason that I don't see it as fishy is just they're traveling all the way to LA. LA's not a bad team. They've beaten the Vikings. They've beaten the Niners. They've beaten some good teams. They definitely have it in them. And the Eagles' schedule that they've been on this win streak it's not super strong. I still think that they're a very good football team. But I think a lot of that may be feeding into it. But yeah, I'm not going to overthink it. Give me the Eagles -2.5.
Yeah, I say if the Rams score less than, it looks like if they score 20 or less points, they just don't win any games. They don't win any games. So they don't really have too much of a defense to speak of, the Rams. So I just feel like Philly will control the unless, the only thing that I still am scared about is Sirianni. That's the only thing that with the Eagles that still scares me.
You never know.
It's worthy of being scared of.
This whole game. They could control the whole game here. Just give the ball to 26. That's it. Just give him the ball. That's it.
He can easily get in his own way though, Mikey. That's worthy of being frightened of.
I know.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the Monday night game. We've got the Ravens at the Chargers in LA. Baltimore's favored by 3 points, over under 49.5. Gentlemen, who do you like?
Yeah, man. Like, this is a game the Chargers need this game, I feel like, to say, like, to really show, like, listen, we've arrived. Like,
Right.
we've arrived.
Do you think the Ravens lose 2 in a row though? I can't.
Well, no, but that's what I'm saying. The Ravens need this game also because they've lost 4 games now, Baltimore.
Yeah.
So like this is a big game for the Ravens. Ravens it's a field goal game. Ravens -3. Man, oh man, this is
I'm going
gonna
to take the
be.
Chargers.
Are you? That's not bad.
I think, I think Mikey, you might have said this several weeks ago, 3-4 weeks ago. You're like, the Chargers are a good team that just doesn't get the credit that they should.
Play great
And
defense and they run the ball.
they're well coached. They almost blew a fucking what seemed like a massive lead last week, but they still won. And Herbert looks good.
You got to take that blown lead with a little bit of a grain of salt, though, because you have a guy playing at an MVP level for one of the worst coaches and teams in the NFL. Burrow is playing MVP football.
Yeah,
he is.
Very well.
He's dominant football. So, like, I'm not going to get mad at a defense getting carved up by a guy playing MVP football. But for the most part, Joe, like I said, and you're right, the Chargers do the 2 things that always work in football: defense and running the ball. If you could do those both better than your opponent, you're going to win more games than you lose. And that's Harbaugh's specialty. I'm concerned about the Ravens in this game. I am. Harbaugh against Harbaugh, by the way. This is a massive game.
This is crazy.
This is a massive game.
That's why it's Monday night, I'm sure.
Yes. Listen, man, I hate to go against the Ravens because this is a tough game from a tough spot.
It's going to be a great game, I think.
Yeah.
Great game. It's one of those games where I'd rather not even bet it and just watch it and enjoy it.
Take a player pro.
Yeah, right. You know what, man? I'll take the home dog getting the points. I'll take the Chargers plus the 3. I would maybe think about buying a hook and getting it to 3.5 for the Chargers. But I'll go with Joe. I'll take the Chargers.
They look good in the dome last week, man. Past week.
They do. And I think they got enough to
Herbert looks healthy too now. He looks like he's making runs, he's making plays on the run. He looks like he's back. Like there was a few weeks there early on where he looked like he was not right. I think he's healthy now and he's making some big plays.
Yep.
Yeah, I've taken a lot of shit recently for talking shit about Justin Herbert when all I said was I need to see more from him. I never said he didn't have the talent. I never said he wasn't a good player. Just said need to see more from him because I think quarterback plays with the Chargers are lacking right now. Like Mikey said, the defense is pretty good and the running game is pretty good, but they need a little more from their air attack. But that being said, like Joe said, I think he's starting to turn a corner here. You're going to give 3 points to the Chargers at home in LA. I love it. Give me the Chargers.
That might be the most entertaining game on the board.
Could be.
All things considered, Harbaugh against Harbaugh. That's pretty much for a Monday night game as good as it gets. That's as good as it gets.
Don't sleep on that Vikings-Bears game as being the game of the week. Don't sleep on that. All right, guys, let's go to Who's a Problem. Mikey V, let's start with you, pal. Who's a problem this week?
Right off the bat, huh, Tick? Who's a problem for me this week? I'm going to say that as much as I don't want to say that he really is a problem in the best of ways, and it's Jon Jones. I mean, Jon Bones Jones to me has solidified now that I just don't think he could. I can't see a world where he's going to lose. I can't see a world where anybody could beat this guy. I really don't. I don't think anybody could beat him. I don't think anybody could beat this guy. I think he's proven that he's one of the few living GOATs, undisputed in his respective sport, where I don't even
really
think,
is. Yeah.
Where it's a non-discussion, non-debatable, like everybody consensus. Who's the best UFC fighter ever? Jon Jones. Like, I don't think it's
ever. You think?
Yeah, I really do, Joe. I think he's the most dominant UFC champion dominant UFC fighter I've
better
ever
than
seen.
Habib.
Yeah.
Most people would say, even before this fight, that Jon Bones Jones is the baddest man alive. He's the greatest fighter that's ever lived.
I think so. Yeah. I think so. I do. And when you make a guy like Stipe Miocic, who I understand he was a couple years old. I mean, he's a handful of years older than Jones. Like, Jones is 38, Miocic is 42. Like, okay, fine, 4 years. But to dispatch one of the greatest and Stipe Miocic is one of the greatest heavyweight UFC title fighters ever. Stipe Miocic.
Yeah.
It's kind of just like just dispose of a guy like that with relative ease. Jon Jones. It just speaks volumes to like how great this guy is. Like, and you look at him and he's an intimidating figure.
Yeah.
But it's not like he looks like Francis Ngannou, where it's like he looks like he's like a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
This guy's just a dangerous motherfucker, man. He's just a nut job. He's just a dangerous man.
What goes on in his head when he's standing right next to him that I'm going to do a back spinning kick to the spleen of this guy?
Dude, the guy is a killer. He's a legitimate, he's a killer, this guy.
Like he was literally, Mikey, standing next to the guy, and within an instant, like how would you even see that coming?
No, I mean, it's like that interview when before him and Cormier fought, and he was like, I will kill you. Like, and he was dead ass serious. I will, like, he's not like, these guys all have a different mentality than normal people, but Jon Jones is like a different animal, man. He's a different type of person. So he's my problem. Maybe not even for this week, for all time. Jon Jones
there is no more wrong of a house in the entire world to rob than Jon Jones's house.
God, bro.
You couldn't have picked a smaller straw. I mean, I'm sure that guy didn't know what he was doing, but there is not a more dangerous house in the entire...
Did he beat the shit out of him? What happened?
Oh, did he? Yeah, he sure did. Yeah, he sure did. That guy might have caught one of those flying knees to the head, dude.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Anyway.
Dude, I'm serious. I think if I went into the octagon with Jon Jones, I think he would KO me. Conservatively, like if I didn't just try and run away from him, I think he would KO me within 5 seconds. I think he would KO me within 5 seconds. He would kill me.
I would have a heart attack before he even touched me. Before he even got his hands
I would never go in unless they paid me enough money.
I would have a heart attack being in that there with him.
How much money would it have to take you to get in that ring, Pop?
No amount of money. That's my life. He would kill me, Joe. There is not a dog.
I'd have a price for sure.
There's always a price for everything.
He would. I'd have a different brain for the rest of my life. I'm not sure there's a price for it.
Yo, Tick would want Herb Dean to just fucking call the fight as soon as he breathed on him. He'd be like, "That's it. And I don't blame him one bit, man. Guy's a psychopath.
He is
pure psychopath.
Something different happening inside there.
Yes.
All right, I'll quickly go. My problem this week is Aaron Rodgers, and it's not just because of his poor play. It's not just because he doesn't look fantastic this season. This guy's a problem, man. He's getting people fired. He's bringing in friends. None of it's working. It's the same shitty team. Maybe if he brings in one more friend, it'll be a better team, but we'll have to see about that. And then in this post-game interview, he's getting on the wide receiver's ass about running a route that he shouldn't have ran, and that's why it was the late-game interception. And it's like he's just not taking accountability, nor has he ever really been a great accountability guy. He really hasn't. But it's just like, enough is enough, man. Why don't you be the leader of that football team? Why don't you take some accountability instead of blaming your wide receivers, blaming your head coach getting him fired, bringing in guys who Devontae Adams still hasn't really panned out there yet. Aaron is just such an issue that he can't just bring himself to blame himself, that none of this is going right. Not all of it, but a big chunk of it is because of himself. And because of that, he's my problem, man. I'm starting to I've been back and forth on him his whole career on whether I like him, I don't like him, and I liked him again for so long, but this behavior is just a reminder of what a problem he is.
Yeah, I mean, listen, bro, nobody was a bigger hater of Rodgers than me for all the years he was with Green Bay, but mainly only because he always beat us. Other than that, did I think he had diva tendencies? I did. I did, but I got to tell, meeting him and talking to him for an extended period of time changed a lot of my perspective on that because of how much of a gentleman he was when I met him. And I have to be completely sincere because he could have been a total jerk off and he wasn't. I have to just be honest about that. But what's happening in New York, Ticket's not wrong.
It's
not wrong. It's a really, really ugly scene in terms of him as a quarterback in the prime of his career. He's arguably, I talk about Tom Brady and Peyton Manning and Joe Montana. in terms of what I've seen a quarterback be able to do, Rodgers is probably top 4 or 3 all time for me. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody better. Honestly, I really don't. It's a tough argument, but like Ticket is not wrong with what he's saying. Like all these things, like they're accurate. Like all the things Ticket's saying is accurate information. Like he did bring all his friends in there. It did feel like they forced the issue with Robert Saleh because of him. Now Joe Douglas gets fired today. Like Rome is burning in East Rutherford, New Jersey, and in Florham Park.
And there wasn't a whole lot to burn. There wasn't a whole lot to burn either.
I know. And talent-wise, I mean, Joe Douglas drafted guys like Sauce Gardner. He drafted guys like Breece Hall, like Garrett Wilson. So all McDonald, all these talented guys, like he built a lot of this, but man, oh man, does the Rodgers deal, which was once thought of to be the saving, like the final piece to the Jets puzzle, it has blown up. It has blown up in their faces to a degree I could have never anticipated. Ever.
Absolutely.
I bought in again this year. I was all bought in.
Me too.
I had them as my game of the week 2 weeks ago, for Christ's sakes.
Yes, Joe had him as game of the week ago for 2 weeks ago.
And your game of the week, Mikey, was direct opposite of mine.
What was that?
I think I had Washington -3, and then you had who did they play 2 weeks
this
ago? Week? No, it was when you and Joe did it yourselves.
Oh yeah, I had
was it the Steelers?
Yeah, the Steelers.
The Steelers. Yeah.
That Steelers defense.
Funny enough, me and Pop were all over the Steelers that week. We ended up betting it.
Okay. So you went against your own game of the week, Tech.
Well, no, what happened was, I guess technically I did, but Joe can be very convincing sometimes.
He can.
And I got persuaded, and you know what? It was
he's like
the right pick.
He's like that little devil on your shoulder, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I'm under me and the viewers and you guys, I'm under no,
of course not.
Like I know that my picks of the week are not, I'm not a handicapper. So I can be.
We're only one game under 500, I think.
It's true. Me and you are both, and then Mikey's
5
6 and 5. Yeah, Mikey's 6 and 5. All right, Joe.
Late comeback, man. I had a rough start to the season.
Yeah, a little like
better late than never, Michael.
Had a rough late.
That's what they say. It doesn't matter how you start; it's how you finish, boys.
I'll keep it short and sweet. My whose problem is a good problem. It's someone who I anticipated could be very successful this year, and so far is turning the team around.
Bo Nix,
baby. I gotta tell you what, Mikey, I picked him up.
The Bo Show.
He's on my fantasy team.
Yeah, he's awesome. Great. He's awesome,
bro. And Cortland Sutton and him look like fucking. They look good. Like he's not just making he looks confident. They should have beaten the Chiefs. The team is rolling. Whether you like Sean Payton or not, whether you like Sean Payton or not, that team looks good right now, dude. And they could be a problem for some teams. And Bo Nix, to me, I think, you look at the guys, I think all the quarterbacks this year, Drake May's starting to look good. Caleb Williams looked great this week. Obviously, Jaden Daniels is awesome. All the quarterbacks are panning out. They all look pretty freaking good. But yeah, I think Bo Nix, man, I think he's got a long career ahead of him in the NFL. He's making good plays. He looks good, man. And now I got him on my fantasy team. 28 and almost 29 fantasy points out of him last week.
Pretty good.
Was 3 touchdowns.
Tell you who's helping the kid. I tell you who's helping the kid out a little bit on his return. The Tua man.
Yeah, you're up there, man. By the way, all 3 of us have, tickets first in the league. Mikey, Showtime.
I'm a fucking
10
wagon.
and 1, dude.
I'm a
you
fucking wagon.
Ticket's face when he saw that Dickie Gas text last night. He looked whiter than a ghost.
Dude, I'm
Mikey's right there, though.
I'm 7 and 4 in the league. I have the most points for, but I'm just getting motherfuckers just have insane weeks against me. They have crazy weeks.
You have like 6 points more for, by the way.
I know, we're neck and neck. No, but Tick, I'm saying you got 3 more wins than I do.
Sure. I think I have the least amount scored against.
Yeah, that's always Tick's fantasy team plays real good defense. Real good defense. They're a defensive organization.
That's exactly right. Which is why we struggle in the playoffs, Mike. We play good teams. Real quick, you know what's just really quickly before we do a couple questions, real quick, is Joe was just talking about all the quarterbacks this year who are really starting to pan out. Why the Cowboys refuse to go to Trey Lance? Why no one will give this guy much of a chance?
He stinks.
But has he even been able to show it much?
He's got to stink, I guess. He's got to stink, Tick. Why
practice,
wouldn't they?
even?
Why wouldn't they?
I know.
Is his contract incentive laden to the point where they think he's going to hit all these bonus plateaus? I don't know.
Maybe he's a prick.
It's bizarre to yeah.
Could be a prick.
Maybe.
Could be a prick. I mean, listen, the Giants finally cut bait Danny Jones this week.
Yeah.
Benching Danny Jones solely
Mr.
out of
DeVito.
solely because of money. Solely because of money, because there's a clause in Jones's contract where if he got hurt this year, they would owe him $23 million next year if he gets hurt. So now, they're not going to do. Now they're out of the race. It's over for Danny Jones. They go to Tommy Cutlets, and I got to deal with all that bullshit again. You know how awful it is around my area of the woods with this Tommy Cutlets guy? Do you know how awful it is to live around here with the Tommy Cutlets mania?
It's
Tommy Lugauer on WFAN, this radio host today, said that he's going to be he could be the next Tom Brady. And he was dead serious. He was dead serious. This is what I'm listening to.
But also,
this is the amount of insanity that goes on with this fucking Tommy Cutlets guy. And I should be rooting for him. He's from Jersey. He's an Italian kid. I should be rooting. But they shove him, force feed him down your throat.
The Italian puns and all the stuff.
And his agent. What was his agent?
His agent's
that guy's
He's insufferable, the agent. He's insufferable.
He should be the problem for everybody.
Yeah.
True. I hope he's still his agent, though. I hope you guys have to deal with him up there in Nutley. All right, let's move on to viewer questions. We'll do a few of these and get out of here. First question comes from Kieran Bracken. Top 3 sports not formed in America. What are the top 3 sports around the world not formed in America?
Well, soccer, for sure.
Yes.
That's the number one without
we have the MLS. That's kind of formed.
No, but I think he means invented outside of America, right?
It's been well invented outside of America. It's like, you think soccer, the last country.
Oh, I thought he meant not formed, not have an actual
No,
organization.
I think he means not invented, I would
say.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, soccer, for sure.
I would say soccer, cricket, and
rugby.
What about hockey? Was hockey in Canada?
Oh, yeah, there you go, Joe.
Hockey in Canada? Hockey's got to be.
Yeah, I'll put hockey.
Yeah, but hockey's
really
big
over cricket.
Hockey's really big in the States, so I will say that.
Yeah, I know, but it
wasn't formed there.
Right.
That's right. All right. Next question comes from Noah DeVos. Which 3 teams should always play on Thanksgiving?
The Lions, the Packers, Cowboys. Although this year we'll make an exception. We'll put the Commanders instead.
Yeah, okay. I mean, listen, for years we had to suffer through the agony of watching the Lions on Thanksgiving. It was almost a punchline like that. You had to sit through a Lion game for Thanksgiving. But now Dallas is the punchline this year. Dallas, nobody wants to watch Cooper Rush and Dallas play the Giants.
It's bad, man.
I mean, Tommy Cutlets against Cooper Rush is one of the worst games of all time.
Is that the game?
Yes. Yes. So listen, if you're asking me what 3 teams to play on Thanksgiving, if I could just go year for year, I could give you a different answer every year. I do like having the established franchises I would honestly say Cowboys, Steelers. I would say the Steelers would be a great team to host a Thanksgiving game every year. I don't know what it is, but I think that would hit nicely. And then, you know what? The Lions, man, it's just tradition.
It's tradition. You got it.
If I had to give the 3rd team the nod that could get the Thanksgiving game every year, to me, it would be the Pittsburgh Steelers. I would like to see the Steelers.
Yeah. The Lions Packers used to always play, or it seemed like for
many, but I mean, like this year, the Bears play on Thanksgiving because you always get a divisional game usually on Thanksgiving. So you're going to get Bears, Packers. Bears, Lions, Packers, Lions, or Vikings, Lions, usually more times than not. So, I mean, you get those, but I think the Steelers tick. Wouldn't that be nice little turkey day with the Steelers? I just feel as though that hits. I don't know why.
Mr. Unlimited just crushing a turkey leg after the game.
Yeah, like Steelers is just such like a football, blue collar town. It just fits with Thanksgiving for me, man.
The Cowboys,
baby.
Cowboys and Lions for sure should be in there, you would think.
Yeah, I like the Lions and the Packers for sure always being there. It's just
Classic.
you just grow up with it. You associate it with stuffing turkey, the turkey sandwiches
Tell you he's
later
gonna
in the
get
day.
stuffed this year. The Bears by the Lions on
Oh,
Thanksgiving.
Lord.
They're gonna get stuffed like the bird.
They
It's
sure
gonna be
will.
bad. It's gonna be bad.
It might be. All right, let's do one more and then we'll get out of here. This one comes from Jordan. In light of the Bears' blocked field goal, what is the most heartbreaking sports loss you've ever encountered? He didn't need to, he didn't need to start
doink.
with that.
No, the double doink probably.
Okay.
I know mine.
Well, double doink.
Mine was the Green Bay Packers, Seattle Seahawks.
Oh God, that
Onside kick.
Yeah, that was bad, bro.
Then resulted in Marshawn Lynch running down our throats and then going to
Yeah.
overtime and having to watch. Who was it? The guy from who was the receiver? Golden Tate.
Golden Tate.
It's fucking that piece of shit, man. I mean,
What about
I'm still a little bit? I don't actually. I even take it back. The Fail Mary. The Fail Mary was the worst with the replacement refs, and now that was a regular season. That was the worst loss. I was in Switzerland watching that game, and obviously you're 8-9 hours ahead. Didn't sleep all night. I took my laptop and I hurled it across the room up against the wall because it was so clearly the wrong call. And the fact that we won and I had to watch Pete Carroll parade down the field like he had just won the Super Bowl. And that was the worst loss. The next one after would have been that NFC
Bruins.
championship.
What about
the NFC championship?
What about the Bruins and the Canucks?
It wasn't a bad. I mean, it was devastating, but it wasn't an awful loss. Like we just lost the game. It was.
Didn't they score like 3 goals in 6 minutes to come back and beat you guys or something like that?
No, they beat us. We barely like game 7. I think it was 3-1 final. It was not even.
Okay.
But I'm saying like tough losses. Like he's talking about like a blocked field goal or something.
Yeah, I have some really bad field goal memory, like losses, like even like Ohio State against Georgia a couple years ago in the semifinal. That was a gut wrenching. Like I'm tired of losing with field goals, bro. New Year's Eve as the ball was dropping.
Yeah,
and my wife just looks at me and I felt so horrible because like I,
how does Holly deal? Like
you kiss your wife on New Year's Eve, obviously, and like that kick sailed like 30 yards left, and that kiss was probably the shittiest kiss she's ever had in her entire life. And I'm sorry about that. I really am. They should have waited to have that kick after the ball dropped, respectfully, honestly. But yeah, Joe,
upset.
like she deals with it. She loves it. Listen, she was at the Ohio State game with me at Wrigley on Saturday, all her Buckeye gear on. She was having a great time. We were with all the family of the players. We were sitting in the same sections of family of all the players.
It's fun when they support. Like Nicole's like cheering for the Packers now, and
it's the best.
All the stuff. It's great.
I feel bad about it, honestly.
I do feel bad about the kiss. Yeah, I do. That was one of my lower moments.
Just quickly, I'll go with when the Sixers lost to the Raptors and Kawhi Leonard made that crazy fadeaway jumper. You want to talk about a triple doink?
Wait, the one that bounced on the rim straight in the air and down. That was against the Sixers?
Sure was, pal.
Yeah, it was against.
Sure was,
knocked
pal.
them out. That was the year that
the. What was that? The Eastern Finals?
It was the Eastern Finals. No, it was the Eastern Finals.
No, I think it was late in the playoffs.
That was to send them to the Raptors to the championships, which they ended up winning.
Dude, that was not even possible.
That was from the corner.
Sure
and Kawhi just kind of
faded into the fucking the seats.
Yeah, but not even not even the physics of the shot. The way the ball bounced.
Yeah. You want to talk about a double doink?
That's a bad one.
That was a bad one. That was
a bad one.
That one.
But you see, that's the karma for the double doink.
What do you mean? Eagles.
Yes, it was the Eagles.
Yeah,
sure, I understand what you're saying. Yeah. Well,
Jake, did you just
it was
lose
karma
it when
that
happened? Did you lose it when that happened?
My fandom for the Sixers has never been the same, to be honest, because it felt like that team. You want to talk curse? The Sixers are a cursed team. They can't win. They cannot win. And you know what's even worse than being cursed with the team is that is just always awful, is being cursed with a team that you get excited about every year because you think you have a good team and they get just close enough and they lose in spectacular fashion every single last
Mikey's
year.
just trying to get there.
Oh, I tell you what,
team.
Mikey, at least you have nothing to get excited about. You know?
I mean, yeah, Ohio State. Listen, Ohio State, the last 10 years, man, like it's time for them to win the whole thing. Like they've had so many good teams. Like it's time for them to knock the door down. Like they've come close. It's time for them to.
I think they're right there, Mikey.
They are. They got as good a shot as anybody this year.
Ryan Day needs to get it done.
He does. He does. Yeah. And if they lose to Indiana, oof.
Oh my God.
But that's not going to happen. Don't worry about that.
Take it. Come on, bro.
I'm just saying. You can't. You got to think positively. All right, boys. That was a good one. That was a decently long episode.
That was 2 hours.
That was that was a big one. That was a big boy.
We needed a bounce back for the
needed a bounce back game, just like the Bears are going to have next week.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. Always good to see you. A lot of fun. Look forward to week 12. And we will see all y'all next week.